Hi, everyone. My name is Brannon Santos, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Peel. Today, I'm going to be talking about innovation and sales automation, brief history of that, where I think we are at today, and where I think we will soon be in the sales automation 2.0 world. Just to sort of tease out my central thesis around this topic, I think a few things have been innovated on in the last 10 years in sales automation, but nothing compared to what we're about to see. As a way of introduction, I have spent the last about 15 years in B2B enterprise sales. I started my career as an SDR at a company called Blue Jeans and worked my way up to being an enterprise rep there. Afterwards, going to a couple different startups and working across revenue operations, sort of before it was called RevOps and more of a sales ops mandate, and eventually revenue enablement into director roles where I owned the customer, both support and success, and then eventually as a CRO where I owned all of revenue and all of the customer. That was all before starting Peel with my co-founders and now growing, where we are also innovating in marketing and sales automation. As I thought about this presentation, there was a couple different ways that we could go. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, in this space. I bring this map up, this logo salad up as an example. This one actually, as I'm looking at this slide in full view, was from 2020. So in the last 5 years now, this is probably quadrupled, if not more. So one way I don't want to take this conversation is talking about all the tools and all the new companies that have entered the marketplace of MarTech or sales tech. I think that's interesting, but I just think it's actually impossible. I see these maps being produced in the communities that I'm a part of all the time, and I notice that Peel's missing. I notice friends and founders of mine, their companies are missing from it. Some of the tools that we leverage are missing from it. So these things are really outdated on arrival, upon creation, and it's just impossible with today's pace to keep up and maintain sort of your arms wrapped around the vendors that are out there. So why try and accomplish basically an impossible feat? I think that's quite challenging to talk about all the tools and the growth of tools within sales and marketing automation today. So rather than talk about that, I want to simply reflect again on the noticeable changes that have taken place and where we are going, as well as a new archetype that will be entering as a new role that we're going to see a lot of companies hiring for and a lot of founders building for to help accomplish this person's goals. So again, there's just so many tools. There's tons of overlap and tons of confusion in the marketplace. As an AI native startup, we feel this when we're talking to CMOs and CROs. That's sort of our ICP buyer. And we can feel the pause and hesitation simply because of this overwhelming nature of how many tools and how much stuff is perceptually changing at a faster rate than ever. As we think about innovation in sales automation, and we think about the ultimate recipient of that productivity gain, the sales rep is that individual. And if we just reflect on what a modern day sales rep looks like today, I pose the argument that not much has changed in the last 10 years. Back when I was an SDR and carrying a bag at the first startup that I worked for, we used tools like ToutApp and Yesware. Those were replaced by SalesLoft and Outreach, and still SalesLoft and Outreach are sort of the main tools that you see in enterprise sales organizations today. But largely, that tool has not evolved, or that motion has not evolved. We use them to replace mail merges and allow individuals to set up sequences, and these sequences helped build task lists out and made it sort of a repeatable process for reps. While removing the lift of needing to write each and every email or LinkedIn or make every phone call. We can think also about some of the speed dialers that are out there today. Orem and Nooks are two that come to mind. Incredible technology that is increasing the frequency and pace that our reps are able to make dials. But even if we think about before tools existing there, all that did was increase the speed and efficiency, which I argue is not a step function in sales automation evolution, rather just sort of an increase in productivity. So I very much still see us being in the sales automation 1.0 world as we contrast what's about to come. Gen AI, especially voice AI, and these new models' abilities to asynchronously perform function calls, meaning that while they're having a conversation with an individual, they can actually be fetching and escalating tasks to other agents. This is the recipe, this is the magical conjuring of what I think is going to usher in the 2.0 era of sales automation. That's what we're building for. That's what we're extremely excited for. And I think that this is, again, going to usher in a new type of individual within every organization that owns this new sales automation 2.0 world. And here's really why. We don't need to give our reps more tools to do what they're already doing and have been doing at a faster pace. We need to actually flip the model on its head. If we think about our lives in consumer land, most of the things that we purchase, although they are like low ASP products, to put it in our vernacular, they're low price point products, much more transactional. We do the research as buyers. We go out there and maybe test these low cost products, and we self-educate and self-serve. We want that same capability as buyers in B2B software or SaaS or enterprise land. And that's just not available to us, right? As buyers, we want to explore and not be sold to. But that tool set didn't exist, figuratively yesterday. As I mentioned, voice agents are here. The ability to have asynchronous agentic conversations that extract information from prospects, articulate how a product or service can be helpful to that individual, demonstrate their functionality, all via a click of a link or a button. That's here, that's now, and that's also coming. It's not widely adopted yet. That ability to do that changes so much. The cost of those conversations is so deflationary compared to the cost to power our teams as we think about hiring, enablement, management, as functionality changes, re-education, ultimately PIPs and firing, all essentially to have these prospect and customer conversations with agents' ability to take some of the responsibility, some of those conversations off the table, enabling the buyer to self-initiate those motions and self-educate and self-serve further along the sales cycle than ever possible before. And that's a meaningful change that I think deserves the right of innovation in sales automation. And the individual that will be responsible for this, whether this name or term sticks, is the go-to-market engineer. This single individual or small team that's capable of orchestrating multiple tool sets agentically and literally having back and forth conversations through agents with prospects and customers is the new role, is the new makeup that I think we're going to see increased adoption for and wide adoption for. As a comparison, an analog, we can think about revenue operations. 5 years, 7 years ago, that was not a term that anyone was really widely familiar with. And over the last few years, we just saw an explosion of hiring and tool sets being created for RevOps as an ICP. I think something similar is going to happen with go-to-market engineers. And they're going to be responsible for, again, designing those automations and workflows, managing data enrichment and AI research, integrating tech stacks via APIs, and continuously optimizing them. They're going to be a blend of sales and marketing. And I think some of the people that have been cast into revenue operations will actually offshoot or divest the operations aspect of RevOps and more focus on this revenue engineering activities. I also think a lot of the tech-enabled or tech-initiated sales reps will move in this direction as well. And they'll have responsibility across the entire customer lifecycle. Being a student of Winning by Design and really loving their science of sales education, I've adopted, as many of us have, their bow tie model. It's a great framework to think about the customer lifecycle, not ending at the win, but really envisioning the expansion, the impact, the growth, ultimately the cancellation of some customers. Go-to-market engineers, again, title to come, will have responsibility and purview over the entire customer lifecycle, and they will construct agent workflows that have interactions with prospects and customers throughout. And again, this is not only, we can think about it from the customer side or the vendor side, and we can think about all the benefits. I mentioned sort of increased scale on day one, being able to have these conversations 24/7 in any language, self-initiated by the prospect. If that is even 10% of the conversations that would have taken place human to rep or prospect to rep, that is a substantial cost reduction and increase in scale. I think that 10% is really low estimation. I think it's going to be greater than 80% that we will see conversations being done prospect or customer to agent in the next few years. And then if we think about maybe what's a little less obvious, why it's beneficial for the buyer, again, it's that same thesis that this is how we buy things in our consumer lives. This is the comfort and self ownership of going forward and investigating things. The old stat that everybody's familiar with is 80% of the decision is made by the time the prospect engages with the vendor. That's because of the many walls that we've put up or the many hoops that we've asked them to jump through. They understand what's going to happen when they fill out a form. They're going to be inundated with outreach forever. So they avoid it. Even now, they understand by going to a website, they have pixels that track them now, and they can identify that web visitor. We, for economic reasons, had forced folks to qualify before speaking with SDRs or AEs, and that all changes. That can change with agents being able to have these conversations, and how cost reductive that is now allows businesses to have a conversation with everybody. To carry that idea forward to where I ultimately think this is going to go and will be one of the aspects of sales automation 2.0 world, is there will be a voice layer applied to the internet. There will be Siri or Alexa sort of comparable applications, although much better applications on every website. Each website will have a voice agent capable of doing discovery, demoing the products, and articulating the personalized value proposition for that web visitor based off of the information that is pre-collected or shared in a voice conversation. It doesn't necessarily need to be voice. I just think that will be the dominant medium for communication going forward. It's how we humans typically interact with each other. I didn't mention at the beginning, I forgot, but part of the agenda of my presentation today, I wanted to get into sort of a real life demo or a tactical way that I'm seeing this happen. I don't want it to be a commercial for Peel that feels icky and kind of cringy, but this is the world that we're building in. So in a moment, I will show you a little bit of how Peel is helping usher in the 2.0 era of sales automation in conjunction with other awesome tools that we see in the marketplace today. So the scenario that I want to have you imagine is you've got a new visitor to your website through our B2B or many of the other tools that have come since that are capable of identifying individual visitors. We know who that person is, right? We see it in our HubSpot or Salesforce instance. We see it in Slack if that's integrated, but we know who that person is. And through workflows in our CRM, we can tell if that person has taken an action during their visit to the website. So we can understand, did they grab a trial? Did they book a demo? Or are they a current customer? If those three things are no's, we could very easily set up a workflow to enrich this new contact that we have with Clay or other enrichment providers. Now, what have we done? We've essentially mimicked what we do in our consumer physical lives, where we walk into a store, somebody that's working there and a representative sees us, acknowledges us, and at least asks if they can be helpful or what brought them here today. That's the motion we're about to get to. But with these two tools or motions that I mentioned, we've identified who came by, we've enriched our understanding of them, and then we can take an action. The action that I'm about to show you is, imagine you have just visited a site and within seconds of leaving it, there's an email in your inbox saying, so glad you stopped by. Can we have a very brief 2 to 3 minute conversation and provide you a demonstration of our platform if there is a good fit, if there is a fit at all? For the buyer, this is amazing, right? Now I don't need to fill out a form. I don't need to wait a few days to talk to an SDR, sort of be interviewed by them, qualified, then scheduled for an account executive discussion where we can get that demonstration. When we're in that discussion, we know we're going to get some of the same qualification questions that we've already answered. It's just not very buyer centric, the way that we've been doing it. And that's where we're going to see evolution and change, not only because it's good for the business, but it's great for our customers as well. So what I'm going to get into in a moment here is showing you how Peel helps you create a conversation for that individual visitor, provides the link that's included in that automated email that goes out to the individual. And then when they click it, the ability to have this voice discovery session that figures out the fit and alignment between that prospect and the vendor, articulates the fit, and schedules appropriate next steps. Let me show you that now. Okay, I'm in my Peel account. I'm going to make this very quick because, again, I'm not wanting to make this a unsolicited demo of Peel itself, but rather just give you an example of how things are evolving. I'm deciding to create a new campaign, and I've told the AI first that I want to be talking to people within the awareness section of the bow tie. For these people, I want to do a web visitor follow-up. That's kind of the demo that I set up a moment ago, where I invite all non-converting visitors into a conversation. I just put in a really non-descriptive prompts. I would spend a lot more time if this wasn't demo, but I just said I want to speak with web visitors and see if there's a fit between us and their situation. Just name it really quick. I'm not going to include a gift card incentivization on this one. And really quickly, Peel's going to start building out a decent conversation that can happen between that web visitor and the voice agent. So you can see it's already saying or creating some dynamic follow-ups, but to kick things off, what were you primarily looking for on our website? You mention a specific feature, or if the user doesn't mention a specific feature, it'll ask a follow-up question to clarify that. It's adding a number of points of dynamicism to make this conversation feel not only human paced, as you'll see in a moment, but human feeling. It can grab case studies that it has access to compare it to the individual situation. And it's far too long. I would come in here and delete some of these. I could add follow-ups. I could rewrite with AI if I'd like. There's a number of things that I can do to make this a better experience for the user and collect all the meaningful information we want. I'm going to shift into the actual interplay between the agent and myself in this case and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm just cruising over to our Peel website to get over to show you essentially this. I'm going to be frank in this example. Just put in an email that goes to me.
Frank, I am ready and excited to dive into a conversation with you. Think of this as a quick brainstorm session. Your insights are incredibly valuable, so thanks for sharing. This conversation should be less than 5 minutes. The end goal is to learn a bit about you, share some relatable info on Peel, and if there's a fit, we can arrange a next step. First, how'd you hear about Peel and what did you find most interesting?
I heard about Peel from a friend and I see some things about you guys on LinkedIn.
That's great to hear. It sounds like word of mouth and professional networks are playing a role in spreading the word about Peel. Can you share a little bit about your role within your organization?
Certainly. I am the CEO, but I'm focused on product at the moment.
That's the significant role. As the CEO with a focus on product, you must have a strategic perspective on innovation and development. What's your favorite part about being in this role?
I'll actually go ahead and pause for the demo and sort of fast forward towards the end just to show you how these conversations wrap up and the information that we get back from them.
Thanks for sharing those tools. Based on our discussion so far, it seems like Peel may be a good fit for you and your team. Peel can help streamline discovery processes, saving time and resources. The insights Peel provides can help tailor your go-to-market strategies, potentially boosting revenue. If your current tools match your integrations, Peel could seamlessly fit into your tech stack. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds super interesting.
I'm glad to hear that. Would you be interested in seeing the admin side of this conversation?
Yes, please.
Great. Here's our up-to-date calendar. The Peel team is excited to chat. You can grab a time that works for you and come on back to finish up our chat.
Awesome. All done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your...
Okay, so shifting back over to the dashboard side or the customer side of Peel after having that interaction, we can see that that conversation's already come in here. It's going through a post-processing where we're analyzing it again with agents, but you can read the summary, you can play the call, very similar to Gong or other conversational intelligence tools. You can also get tear sheets that show the fit between that person, situation, and your tool. It'll extract quotes and tell you why those quotes are important to them as sellers. Again, being a student of Winning by Design, we use Spiced internally. We break it down into that methodology, but of course we have all other methodologies that are available. So if you use Medic or MedPick, we can break down the conversation into those formats. And this is all pushed up to our HubSpot instance or Salesforce instance. And it's, again, a way of having an asynchronous conversation with your prospects and customers, giving them the freedom to have it whenever without any friction around scheduling or languages, never having to repeat themselves, sharing it in 3 to 5 minutes, and then getting on an actual demo to see the value and impact that those tools can provide. Great. Wrapping up with just sort of a distillation of the perspective I shared. There's a lot happening in Gen AI and sales and rev tech. There's a lot of confusion and fear of messing up out there right now. But we're going to shortly see things change dramatically. Again, I believe not much has not much innovation has really taken place in sales automation land for the last 10 years, but that's about to change today or tomorrow. In the next few months, we're going to see wider adoption of agents having voice conversations to eat further into the sales process that used to be human to human. With that, though, as more of the market shifts the pendulum towards automation and agents, an opportunity will emerge for human touch again. Private dinners, physical events, and physical mail, gifting, all these personal touches, handwritten notes will become very novel once again and in vogue once again and work towards driving conversion as we overbalance. And it'll ultimately be that go-to-market engineer's responsibility to harmonize and balance automation with human touch to make the best, elegant, conducive customer journey for their buyers. I've shared my perspective, but we would really love to hear yours. We're utilizing Peel to do conversational studies. Essentially, we create the conversation and the questions that we're curious about in Peel, generate the link or the QR code that you see in front of you here, and ask all of you to participate. It, again, only takes you 3 to 5 minutes, and we can collect a lot of perspectives, use another agent of ours that I didn't demonstrate to create these conversational studies, which are beautiful. They basically take all of the interviews and wrap it around a central topic, and we can play quotes and see who else has participated in these previous versions of those studies. They're always living and updated as more and more people participate. So with that, we're happy to give away some things. We're going to give a $100 gift card or donation of your choice to the first participant. The last participant will give $300 away to a random selection. We'll give some swag away as well. But this is all in an effort to basically hear from all of you guys on this innovation in sales automation topic. We'll close it on the 28th and we'll put out the study so everybody can take a look at the diverse opinions that are out there. I hope you found this interesting. I love talking about this stuff. You can always find me at Brannon at Get Peel, or I'm on LinkedIn quite actively. Brannon Santos is my name. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a great day.